Well, we've been talking for a couple days about the Tides Canada Foundation and other foreign-based foundations that funnel millions of dollars into very political and partisan NGOs in Canada attacking the oil sands. Trouble is, they have a charity status. Well, joining me now to talk about the kosherness of this is Samantha Kernahan. She's a charities lawyer in Edmonton, and she does work for ethicaloil.org, my favorite pro-oil sands NGO. Hey, Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ezra.
Now, I want you to give some legal expertise. I've been ranting for days about the politics of this. I think it's outrageous that foreign meddlers are coming into Canada and trying to kill our jobs. But let's put aside the politics and the punditry. Help me out with the law. What is the law of charities? What counts as a charity and what isn't? How do we know what deserves a tax credit and what doesn't?
Well, the law of charities in Canada states that a charity is an organization that is devoted exclusively to charitable purposes. And the history of the common law tells us that charitable purposes are relief of poverty, advancement of education, advancement of religion, and other purposes beneficial to the community, which normally are very similar to advancement of religion, education, and the relief of poverty.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure most of these environmental extremists think what they're doing is education when they're educating people about the evils of oil. I'm sure what they think is for the good of the community. How do our courts interpret those phrases? I mean, they revoked the charitable status of Greenpeace. We had Patrick Moore on yesterday telling us about that. How political or how loosey-goosey are these environmental charities allowed to get before the Revenue Canada says, whoa, 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 that ain't charitable anymore?
Well, it seems that how the law has developed in Canada, both through the courts and through interpretations of Canada Revenue Agency, is that they try to look at the facts of each particular situation and judge it in accordance with what has been decided before. And what seems to have developed is an understanding that so long as the activities of a charitable organization are mostly charitable, or even those that aren't technically charitable are ancillary and so connected with the charitable purposes that they need to happen, then that's fine. And the law has even developed so far as to say that these groups can participate in up to 10% political activity. But there's even rules around that. Not all political activity, even just 10%, is allowable. You are not allowed to specifically support a political party. You are not allowed to specifically support a candidate, but nor are you allowed to actively campaign against a law or policy of any government in Canada or of a foreign government for that matter.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because yesterday on the show, we ran a TV ad produced by a charity called Environmental Defense. Let's just roll about 5 or 10 seconds of the ad. You'll get the flavor for it very soon. Please listen and tell me what you think of this.
His real agenda is to sell Americans more dirty oil from the tar sands in Alberta, the fastest growing source of global warming emissions in Canada. He's not concerned for the security of your kids' future. Instead, he wants to give special treatment to tar sand companies so they can keep polluting.
Campaign-style ad targeting Stephen Harper, mocking him, disparaging him, criticizing him. Lots of I mean, listen, it would be a great ad for the NDP or the Liberals, but this ad didn't come from either of them. This ad came from something that is a registered charity called Environmental Defense. Samantha, how can this happen given what you just told me about a zero tolerance for partisanship?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that, Ezra. That ad, or at least the part that you just showed me, is not something I would describe as educational. Educational content as provided by charities is supposed to be balanced and is supposed to advance the knowledge of the person receiving it. That segment that you just showed me from the Environmental Defense ad was clearly an opinion-based perspective. What seems to be the problem in Canada, excuse me, sorry, please go ahead.
But more than that, I mean, it wasn't just not educational. I mean, junk science is never educational, but I mean, that was targeting Stephen Harper, a particular candidate. Now, I happen to support Stephen Harper, but even if it was targeting Thomas Mulcair or targeting whoever the next Liberal leader is going to be, didn't you just tell us a couple minutes ago that, you know, there's only 10% politics allowed, but didn't you say there's an absolute prohibition on partisanship, like attacking a Tory or attacking a Liberal?
I certainly did, and those rules exist in Canada. It appears what the problem is these contentious issues in our society, development of the tar sands being one of them, is that there is so much activity and very little enforcement of the rules. That is a concern. You have certainly raised that concern. And I do believe in the recent federal budget, there is another $8 million being added to CRA's budget to help with enforcement of the rules. I think what the government is trying to do is get at exactly what Environmental Defence and others like it are doing. They're not following the rules.
Samantha Kernahan, appreciate your legal point of view. We got to stop it there, but I hope we'll keep in touch over the months ahead. I'm sure this story is going to continue to grow.